Advisor, Google, Guru Walk. Someone booked on Guru? Yeah, anyway. Google. Discovered America, and the same year Spanish King Ferdinand and his wife Isabel. They expelled Jews of Spain. You know about Reconquista. Jews are living in Spain forever. They were not going to Europe because more or less Inquisition was everywhere. There are few places in Europe where Jews of Spain were welcome, like Amsterdam, where there was no ghetto. You know about ghettos of Jews. So it lost forever. But the Ottoman Empire was open, and they are welcoming Jews in the Ottoman Empire. We, as a part of the Ottoman Empire in that time, we are getting first Jews in the city already in 1541. Sepharad, Hebrew word for Spain. Jews, they brought their culture, tradition, religion. 1565, our Jewish community was established. This is our first synagogue. 1581. Sepharad, and Hebrew word for Spain. Among the language, music, Sedalinka is deeply influenced by Sephardic music. They brought one book with them, and the book is called Haggadah. It means story. Written between 1350 and 1380 in Barcelona. Coat of arms of Barcelona is there. Book traveled from Spain. It's a just general book about Jewish traditions of that time. It's not holy book. But in 16th century, 300 paintings. Paintings of Moses, Jacob, unusual. Jews, same as the Muslims. They don't believe in idols. There is no face of the God. 300 paintings there is weird. It's nothing to be so proud of in that time. So it was kept with the Cohen family in Sarajevo until arrival of Habsburgs, Austro-Hungarian Empire. They were building our national museum, calling people to donate wealth, and one Jewish family is selling Haggadah to the museum. The Austrians, they wanted to study as they didn't know what is this all about. They sent it to Vienna and they realized that there is nothing like this in the world. They decided to keep it in Vienna. But Rabbi from Sarajevo, he says that this book was given to Sarajevo Museum, not to Vienna. And he went himself all the way to Vienna. He brought book back to Sarajevo. As of 1910, we call it Sarajevo Haggadah. This book survived World War II. This book survived Siege of Sarajevo. Until now, this is the most important exhibit of the National Museum of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Haggadah, Sarajevo. Haggadah is in danger because the state here is in danger. You know, state, I told you, is symbolic. So state today, among having government there, they just have government to finance their institutions. Most of the responsibilities are on the entity level. That's how the state of peace agreement was working. But there are few museums on the national level, few state institutions on the national level. One of them is National Museum of Bosnia and Herzegovina, the one where the Haggadah is. But the national is always a problem here. Because national for Bosnia is seen different in the entities. As the entities are sponsoring the state, they are able to block the financing of the state institutions. So 5 institutions of culture, they are out of money. The National Museum was closed for 3 years, just because it is national. But you know, problem was solved. It was clear that state will not give money for the museum. Then it was offered to the entities. Republika Srpska refused, Federation refused as well. So it came to the lower level. Federation consists of cantons. You know, you are now in Sarajevo canton. So Sarajevo canton accepted financing of the National Museum. That's one of 10 cantons, so it works. Also, embassies, maybe some of your countries, they recognize the problem and they also support the museum. Yeah. One more interesting moment in Sarajevo history is arrival of Habsburgs. We have 400 years of Sephards, but being part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, we got Ashkenazi Jews, Jews of Eastern Europe, Galicia, Ukraine, Poland, Austria. They speak German, Yiddish. They met Sephards. They are not in France. And Sarajevo is one of few places, I would say in the world, in 1900, where you will find 2 communities. Sephards and Ashkenazi Jews living without ghetto, living in this freedom in one city. having different synagogues and communities because they decided that way, as it was cultural gap between two communities. Education, lifestyle, it was different, you know. Ottoman Empire, poor Austria, Habsburg monarchy was classy, especially in that moment. So, in beginning it was a gap, but later it started mixing. Today no one cares with Sephardi and Ashkenazi anymore. And no one speaks Ladino anymore. Unfortunately, the last speaker died a few years ago. Yiddish, I mean, that's not the big deal, but Ladino, it was a little bit more interesting because we still had a speaker. In our language, we have few words which are in Spanish, which we use daily. People don't know that they are coming from. Because on 15th of May, United Nations Assembly will vote for Srebrenica resolution, where again, whole world will be asked if they will agree to remember Srebrenica as a place where genocide happened in 1995. Genocide is recognized by International Court in The Hague. That's the biggest Supreme Court founded after World War II. That's the World Court. Anyway, still there are sponsors, and like 40 sponsors of Srebrenica genocide. Those countries who propose that and who stand a lot to put every single detail in the resolution. There are some countries who are working against that, and of course it's sometimes unexplained. But in the Balkans, like all countries, they are sponsors of Srebrenica genocide. Even Montenegro, which is very much involved in the things happening around Srebrenica. But Serbia is doing very big propaganda against that, and it is clear that there are going to be a few countries who are going to be against that, and they count on 2 billion people, so you can guess that. But anyway, it's again political thing here, because now it's the biggest thing. It's the biggest topic in the state, in the region right now. Even though in the Srebrenica resolution it's not mentioned anything about nation who did it, about the country who committed it. It's just about the saying it's a genocide, but still there. Unfortunately, we live in the world where these big things happen. Anyway, there's a flower which is done by the mothers of Srebrenica, ladies who lost their children and family members, and they created these flowers of 11 leaves in traditional technique of doing this from that region. And green color for hope, white for innocence, that stands for genocide in Srebrenica. You know, mayor of Srebrenica is the guy who denies genocide in Srebrenica. Because the power is like there. That's the Far East of the Antioch Republika Srpska. Officially, guys, is denying. Anyway, place says meeting of cultures. The real direction of West. The real direction. And have you been here already? We'll come back again. So I'll let you conclude by yourself later on. Let's go to the east. That's a chronological order. 8 minutes past 3. Anything weird? Arabic numbers. Who uses Arabic numbers?
The whole world uses Arabic numbers.
The whole world, we all use Arabic numbers. They are just Arabic numerals there, which we don't use. But numbers, that's what we use, 0 to 9. Who uses Roman numbers?
Nobody.
We use it in primary school, right? Yeah. We know how to read, but no one uses it for real. Anyway, numbers are there. 1 is there, 2 is there, 3 is there. Just the time is 3 times. Who thinks that this works? Do you think it works? No. Okay. They said that doesn't work. You said it works?
Probably. We don't know. You have to tell us.
Okay.
Yes.
We will leave it for now.
Okay.
Next 10 minutes we'll be around the clock tower, and we will see if it's ever going to move from 310. Anyway,
okay.
Next 20 minutes of our tour, we'll continue that way, and we will talk about one guy. His name is Gazi Husrev Bek. You might forget about his name, but you will not forget about him.
We will not forget.
By the end of this tour. You heard about this guy?
Yes. I read yesterday over there.
Sorry?
I read about him yesterday over
What
there.
What did you find?
Oh, what? I need to read more, but I will remember his name.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mosque and the madrasa built by him. Yes.
Basically everything you see there, and everything that we will see next 20 minutes of our tour, is connected to him. Either he built it, or his trust built it. But imagine that everything there is a trust of God's history. 500 years of one institution. We'll talk about that. So when he arrived here, Sarajevo was not center, as I told you. Headquarters by Krani. He decides to rule here. He built city on this side of the river. That was a new part of the city. And today this is the only part of Sarajevo, old part of Sarajevo we have. This is from 1521 plus. The old Sarajevo was on the other side of the river from 15th century. That one doesn't remind on the old Sarajevo. The old Sarajevo is today Gazgrusser-based Sarajevo. So everything is trust, with one exception. We had the communism. Communists, they don't like rich families, mosques, churches, you know. That was the idea. So some of the trust was taken by the state. So I would say 50% of the property is owned by the state. But it's all on the courts now. Next time you come, trust maybe will be able to prove that they are real owners. Anyway, for the sake of understanding the concept of endowment, we'll keep our mind that it is trust. It was trust until 70 years ago. It is partially trust now, but it will be trust. I'm pretty sure. Okay? Restitution is a big process happening in post-communist countries. Here it's very slow, but it's happening. It goes step by step. Slowly, it's happening. Most of the buildings, they will have a name of this guy on there. So even this one, because we found an open market here, he decides to cover. We got first shopping mall in Sarajevo. Bezistan, Stan, Pakistan, Kazakhstan, place. Bez is not a tribe. Bez is silk. It's not Asian, it's silk. Silk's Bazaar. No more silk. Let's go there. Let's see the old shopping mall. First exit, we go to the left, and we will meet in front of the minaret, not the clock tower, minaret. Okay? Let's go.
Il a 500 ans.
Here is Puchko. It's a mascot of the Olympic Games. It's funny, you can find on YouTube some funny videos from that times. Yeah, he's trying to ski, skate. It's quite funny. And the posters around the city, they have a mascot there. We are heading this way towards the Grand Mosque of Sarajevo. You can always come back to this bazaar for your shopping and souvenir. Yeah, sorry, can you push this a little bit around your legs? One. That's only one. Then you're out. Just a little bit. Cool. No.
Thank you.
That's all, I guess. Anyway.
I know, I mean, there's one more.
Here. Whenever you see mosque, anywhere you are in the world, mosques are facing Mecca. That's how Muslims turn when they are praying. No idols, same like in synagogues. God, prophet, picture, that is not there. Ornaments or calligraphy, that's the art you find there. So basic ornaments you find here on the ceilings of the mosque, a little bit more you find inside of the mosque. And calligraphy, you find over there a little bit of calligraphy. There are verses of Holy Book written in an artistic way. Okay? Any questions? If you have anything about Islam, about mosque.
In what century did this mosque was
This
built?
mosque was built in 1531.
1531.
And it was built by Ghazi Husrev Bey. and 360 degrees around us is Husser-based trust. Everything you see around us belongs to that same institution. First thing he built here was water line. 9 kilometers away from the hills, he delivered water, and water line in Sarajevo is this one from 16th century. It's not a first water line, it's a new water line in Sarajevo. The oldest water line is from 15th century. We talk about water line which supplied your hotel. Someone stays in Hotel Hammam, which is the first hammam in Sarajevo from 15th century, and that water line is the first modern European water line. Roman aqueducts, they don't have continuation to medieval Europe, so it's over. And then again starts from 16th century, 15th century, somehow in the Balkans where the Ottoman Empire had this influence. As he's building water line, just outside of this gate, I don't like to stay there, but next to this souvenir store on the left side, first public toilet in Europe. Yeah, in Sarajevo, we got it in 1530. And also public baths on this side of the river. Gazi Husrev Bey built 2 more public baths. Public bath of Gazi Husrev Bey is behind the cathedral. The one with green domes is not used as bath anymore. And one was next to Sebit Fountain, that one is gone. But the old one from 15th century is built in Sarajevo in 1457, public bath, just for comparisons. First public bath in London, you know when? 1760. In Vienna, 1815. 350 years later. Trust is around us, but the most important, for my opinion, part of this trust is this building right here. That's Gazi Husrev Bey's Madrasa. The chimneys, 12 of them are standing for 12 professors. Back in time, you can study astronomy, math, religious subjects, languages. Gazi Husrev Bey said that his school in Sarajevo will be there forever. So school of Gazi Husrev Bey is still here. It was not ordinary school. It was not church or mosque where one priest gives education. It was university where 12 professors are focused on different subjects. So I already told you, 30 universities in Europe in that moment when this one was built in 1537. Today, 487th generation of students. Yeah, and it's not there anymore. This is a museum of Gazi Husrev Bey. I definitely advise you if you have time to see it. Big school there is Gazi Husrev Bey's gymnasium, one of 4 schools of Gazi Husrev Bey around, not only in Sarajevo. As the trust is improving and investing in the same values and ideas that Gazi Husrev Bey was sharing. So the concept of the trust still lives, just continuation of that, and it's just growing. Together with the school was library, which was in 16th century having 30,000 books, all mentioned in Gazi Husrev Bey's endowment constitution document called Vakufnama. Library was growing. City was growing. In 1992, Army of Republika Srpska from those hills, they intentionally destroyed 3 libraries. So Gazi Husrev Bey's library is gone. Original one. Recently, 10 years ago, new library is built by the trusts from outside of our country. Usually trusts which existed somewhere else, they were sponsoring reconstruction of the trust here because the same concept exists not only here. The trust idea was throughout the Silk Road. And this big building that you see over there, the green dome, is Gazi Husrev Bey's library, a place which I think you should visit. It's only 4 marks and definitely worth visiting. I think I'm not sure now is it in top 10, but I'm pretty sure it's in top 20 European collections of the Islamic literature, this particular library. It is very, very interesting, especially exhibition that they created 3 years ago for 500 years of Gazi Husrev Bey's arrival here, exhibition about his trust. Very modern in English, easy to follow, so for 4 marks, that's one of these underestimated museums, which I would say. Everyone goes to these war museums, but this one it's huge thing. It's big thing. Okay?
What happened to those books when they destroyed the library?
The big part of these books of this library were kept in 2 institutions. One is the National Library,
Okay.
and one is kept in Oriental Institute. All 3 buildings are destroyed. National Library, Oriental Institute, and Gaziusa Bey's Library. In Sarajevo, during war, we lost around 4 million books. Just in the main library, 2 million books.
So you mean the books were destroyed? There was no copy
A lot
available?
of books are destroyed, but some books survive. From the original books, around 14,000 original books, which are gone.
No
the
copies
biggest
available?
archive, for example, which is part of Gaziusa Bey Library, the biggest archive of the Oriental documents, especially documents related to the trusts. There was not only trust of Gaziusa Bey. I'll talk about concept of the trust, but most of these documents are gone because mainly that they are regulating the ownerships. Now, if someone is building trust, he is giving instructions how the trust will be sponsored. In Sarajevo case are stores. What the trust will pay for in Sarajevo case is library, school, maintenance of caravanserai, maintenance of water line, public toilets, public baths, public kitchen, and investment in the new schools and the other things. So it's growing, continuously growing. So all of that are gone because not only one trust was in our country. We have even names of the cities. In the suffix there is Baku. When you travel through the Balkans, in Bosnia case, Gornji Vakuf, Donji Vakuf, Skender Vakuf, Kulen Vakuf, they were trusts. So the concept of the life and building cities is trust, where someone wants to inherit something for community. And everything is inspired by beliefs. Because they believe that good deed cannot expire. Every sip of water here in 500 years, the guy who built it, he was rewarded for it. That's the concept. And the concept mainly integrated in the Muslim community, didn't remain in Muslim community. In Sarajevo, in the Balkans, we have very common trust among the Orthodox Christians, which is the second largest religion in the Ottoman Empire. So we have trusts similar. They're not called Vakuf, but they are trusts. Okay? So I now went a little bit further because someone asked me and I wanted to explain that. The clock tower is there. And obviously works, right? And 6 hours. But it's not 6 hours. Looking outside. 360. Sunrise, we are not scientists. We don't know how to count. Right? Impossible. Impossible. That's why, some of our grandparents, they were born at some date and they say, well, it's not sure that it was that date, right? It happened.
Yes.
Just like we know my grandmother, she's this kind of case, 1931. Anyway, there's different calendar, which is easier to track. It follows the circle of the moon around the earth. How long does it take?
355 days.
355, 28, both are right.
Yes. 28
Partially.
a month.
Sorry?
Yeah, a month.
A month. That's a month.
27.9 days.
29.5.
27.9 days. 28 days.
Yeah, 28 days we see the moon.
Yes.
But there are days when we don't see
we
the
don't
moon.
see the moon. Yes.
So that's a little bit extra.
Yes.
Exact number of days in a 1 month moon cycle is 29 and a half days. In 29 and a half days, 28 days, we see moon. One more day we don't see moon because the earth is blocking moon from the sun. So in 28 days, it's 4 weeks, right? Moon will have its phases, right? So there are 4 phases of the moon. If it starts like that one on the top of this clock tower, if that is the beginning of the moon phase, that's first. That crescent is beginning. Opens to the half. Half shining from the right is 7. Opens more to the moon, full. That's 14, right? Then it started descending. Now the shade appears on the right side, back to the half, shining on the left. That's 21st. The crescent on the left is 28. One more day when there is no moon, and the new moon will appear again. On the other side, there will be crescent. When did you see moon last time? Did you notice these days?
No.
Ah, cloudy. Anyway, you'll see it. And you will know the date. Full moon is half of the month. It's 14. The cross on the left is first, the right is first, the cross on the left is end. So that's so simple. Half of the planet uses this calendar. They call it Chinese calendar, Jewish calendar, lunar Muslim calendar. A lot of people use it.
Yes.
So it's simple to track. You don't have to be educated. You just look at the moon and you can know the date. But one more thing is, Jewish people and the Muslims, they pray. You know when they pray?
Yes.
Depending on what?
Sun.
Depending on sun. They pray at sunrise, they pray at noon, they pray at sunset. Today is easy. We have a Google knows all. But someone need to reach this stage that we live. And it's coming through the Silk Road. The first universities, observatoriums, everything in Persia. Not because they love the stars. They wanted to know when is the sunrise and the sunset. What they did? They built first observatoriums down there in the ground with the tiny holes looking sky. From every day from the same angle, they look the stars. They paint stars today, tomorrow. They notice that stars from the same angle look different every day. They started developing tools, which you can see in the library, which are helping them to estimate the sunset and sunrise. And they didn't need Columbus to tell them that the world is not flat. That is not discovery. In 12th century, in Persia, in 14th, 15th, 16th century, in the Balkans, when this education is coming, they were studying that. That was not a big deal at all. So the purpose of this school, the main thing of the school is to know the sunrise and the sunset. That's why they study astronomy, math, geometry, as I told you before. The sunset is a critical moment in a day. Sun is down. Usually when the sunset happens, you see the moon, right? So when you see the moon in the evening, that's a new day. So the new day doesn't start on midnight. New day starts on sunset. Sundown and moon is a new date.
The Islamic calendar starts like that.
Sorry?
Islamic calendar starts like that.
That's Islamic, Jewish, Chinese
Yes.
calendar.
No, Chinese, their day does not start on the
Day does not
same
start
night.
on
Yes,
the sunset.
but the Jews and Muslims,
They
they
have
start.
exactly.
Yes, after Maghrib.
After the Maghrib. This clock is the only clock in the entire world which at 12 shows sunset. Okay? So we have how many hours? 6 hours, 30 minutes till the next day. According to my grandmother, she would never say that tonight, for example, is dinner on Wednesday. Dinner on Wednesday means
Yesterday.
yesterday. Tonight is dinner on Thursday.
Yes. And one more thing, that Chinese calendar.
Sorry, I missed that part. Yeah,
Chinese calendar, they add 1 month after every 3 years.
that's the perfect. It's called lunisolar calendar, but
Yeah.
you can find out a little bit more about that on Google. But it's possible. It's possible to keep the track of the seasons
Yes.
following just moon. That's a perfect calendar in the world called lunisolar. Every 3 years, add another month,
You always
and
say.
you are always in 17 years range, I guess. 19.
I don't know.
They can find.
Yeah, they can find it.
This is more than enough. Free time for a few minutes. You make photos. Give me these scarves back, please. I need to return it, and we will continue this way
Okay.
towards the caravanserai.
Was it not the Sumerian stuff?
Yeah. It's not that. Yeah, it is. Koji su najbitniji, ba? Ovi moji naku. Okay, guys. We are in the caravanserai. One of 13 caravanserais we had in Sarajevo, the only one which is still there. One of two in the Balkans. Sarajevo and Skopje has it. In this real original shape. Along the Silk Road, caravanserais were everywhere. People would travel from caravanserai to caravanserai. And in the Balkans, we have many cities named Khan, because Khan, caravanserai, place of accommodation of the hotel. This particular one survived, and it's special because this was caravanserai of Gazi Husarbek. His intention was to create city, to develop city, and in order to attract merchants to come here, he offered free hotels. This caravanserai, with its 40 rooms and 160 beds, was free of charge. 3 nights free of charge. In the morning they will get food free of charge, afternoon food free of charge. Not bad. Merchants are coming to Sarajevo. As they started coming here, he built trust. And that's why even here it says Gazi Husarbek Bakov. The trust, actually the stores that were rented for the merchants were collecting rents. Rents were collected in the trust, and the trust was paying maintenance of all these things. Water line, public toilets, public baths, public library. Today, 500 years later, this trust operates public kitchen, which is every morning feeding 250 people. Someone would say, well, he was a good man, he didn't have wife and children, no one to leave his wealth. That could be an answer, but the idea for the trust, I told you, is tied in beliefs. People believe that good deed cannot expire, especially for the Muslims, and the trusts were generating growth in the cities along the Silk Road. So many trusts were there, many trusts were in Sarajevo. One trust survived, trust of Gazi Husarbek, but the other trusts are mainly taken by the state. I grew up in the old town of Sarajevo. In the old town of Sarajevo, there was a practice until World War II for people to share their wealth to additional piece. 2 siblings, 1 more piece goes to the trust. You cannot build your trust to give to the Gazi Husarbek trust. 3 siblings, 1 more piece goes to the trust. Always extra piece. That's kind of something you want to leave behind you after you're done. Trust doesn't have to be a big thing. Vakuf as a concept can be your YouTube channel.
Waqf.
Yeah, when you help people to cook anything, share knowledge free of charge, hoping that someone will get inspiration or learn something, that can be vakuf. It doesn't have to be building. Okay? I know in growing up in Sarajevo, and sometimes parents, they would say, well, if the children do not behave, but do not behave / they would say they smoke cigarettes. That's kind of the worst thing. If the children do not behave, or if they will smoke cigarettes, well, you know, there is always trust. So they can give something to the trust rather to give to someone who is not like behaving, doing something good, or what is considered to be good. Okay? Any questions? This is not free hotel anymore. No free room. No, thank you. No. Up there are lawyers who got. We are at the there is called Bash Charshiya. It might be hard for you to pronounce. Bash head, Charshiya square, like the main square. All these streets around us, they are named after different crafts. Shoemakers, leather dealers, Sarajevo, they were doing the saddle. Down there, Halachi, they were dealing with cotton. Kovachi, they were metalsmiths. I was growing up in the city of the old crafts, but somehow they started disappearing with the rise of number of tourists and all these things, so that's how it is. Now, they are old craftsmen, hard to find them. We also developed tour of the food and crafts, which is a little bit different perspective, as we have good food and unique crafts here. Unfortunately, it's all gone. There are few people who are continuing with their trust. One street survived in its full capacity, and it looks the same as it looked 200 years ago. We'll talk about that street. But before we move on, that fountain is the symbol of Sarajevo. It's called Sebil. And the local legend says that drinking water from this fountain will bring you back again in Sarajevo. So it can be here, you can do it in front of the mosque, wherever is Gaziusa-based water line. Those 50 fountains which are still remaining out of these 120 fountains in 16th century. So it's like the old water line of Gaziusa. But the fountain itself looks different than it looked during Ottoman Empire. Actually, this one was redesigned when the Austrians arrived here. Austrians, Habsburgs, they arrived here. They met very Eastern touch. Islam, Sephards, Orthodox Christianity, and even architects that were in that time building Sarajevo, they were inspired by the Eastern touch and the vibe in the city. So it's Moorish architecture. We'll talk about that. Let's go in this street and you can see some of the coppersmiths. Some of them are 3 generations of the same family. They never gave up. And there are those to preserve our traditions. I always say it's sustainable shopping here. When you have a great time, keep that shopping. But really you'll find some of the most unique products, souvenirs in Sarajevo here. It's handmade, most of it. So here is a Jabučar family. This guy is mentioned in the World Book of Records, in the Guinness Book. He made the biggest jezva in the world. Jezva is pot, and this is jezva. Jezva is pot for coffee. We drink coffee more and more, to stay awake, and then his one grew to 2 meters. But what they do here is they're carving on these copper pots. So this is savat technique. This guy is more into savat technique. So the copper, he tin plated, silver plated, and then they has the tools where they scratch it and you get this reddish color, or they later paint this in some dark, so you get this designs. But you can proceed here. Looks yo. Septim, realno, kad sačka ruče se. Nemoj sad odmah.
How to call this bazaar in Bosnian?
We call it Kazanjiluk. Kazanjiluk. Look at that. This is a master. His name is Akid Bashaushevich. This is pearl. The lead is there. The pot is filled with the lead. If he hits on the copper will lose the shape. But he has a lead in it. Lead holds the shape. And then he carves. Later he finishes heating a little bit up. Lead melts, coming out. The copper remains. And then this is the result. This is museum of the crafts, I would say, really. Real museum.
How long does it take to make like?
I think it goes in phases. He's not finishing entire thing. But you see him one day he's carving this piece, one day carving this. I don't know. It's so smooth and relaxing, he sits and doing it. I don't think that it takes him more than 3 to 4 hours to finish this one.
Each one is done by him.
No, but just the small piece like this. I would say if he works 5 hours, he can finish this one. But just the carving, then he needs to. It's all family involved. He's an artist. The others are, they are helping. That's my best friend's father. He has 2 sons. One son, he moved on. But the other son, my best friend, he's not into it. You have to be skilled, if your fingers are like, it's not for everyone, really. It's like skilled. We can continue this way.
So, what do you think where this artwork was originated?
I'm not sure, but here is coming with the Ottoman Empire. But maybe in India, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, because we have a lot in Pakistan.
It's definitely very much influenced by these cultures. Kako ste majstori? Ovo vidim hladno oružje tamo. Nemoj pa, full. I told you arrived after 1878. city was very much influenced by the East and Orient, and Habsburgs, they sent best architects to Cairo. Alexander Vitek, the architect of this building, he was inspired by the Grand Mosque of Cairo and Alhambra of Spain. And he is building neo-Moorish style of architecture. It was not so common for the Habsburg monarchy. They could make easily Renaissance, Gothic, but they wanted to do something that would be smooth shift between the empires. And people loved it. In every city, in my country, you have at least one building in Moorish style of architecture. In Sarajevo, we have more. And this is one of the symbols of our city. In the beginning, it was a city hall. After World War II, it's University Library of Bosnia and Herzegovina. In 1992, started siege of Sarajevo, and the army of Republika Srpska stationed on the hills around. They fired 3 libraries, as I told you, and the National Library was gone as well. Kako ste, jeste dobro? This is interesting. This guy is wearing our national dress. Da im kažem da kad ste već se obukli uvijek, ja vas nisam viđao. Šta? There is a one next to cathedral. There is a Kud Baščaršija, the cultural society, and they have all the national dresses, and they offer even pictures in the national dress. So if you want, you can wear national clothes, and they have national clothes throughout the entire Balkans of all nations, villages. They have very nice collection. They are in the city. Anyway, Army of Republika Srpska targeted libraries, and libraries are destroyed. National Library was burned here on 25th of August 1992. You can see pictures. We had ash rain in Sarajevo in that time. In the middle of war, Sarajevo Philharmonic had concerts there. We tried to send messages to the world that we are alive, that this war didn't destroy us. You see? Just a second. You see? It was complete fire. One guy from Sarajevo, he was playing cello there. That was his way to commemorate loss. This is Vedran Smailović, known as cellist of Sarajevo, playing in the city hall. One American came to city, her name is Susan Zontag, in the middle of war. She could not believe that in the city without lights, electricity, food, still someone cares about theater. She created play Waiting for Godot. Here meant waiting for someone to stop war. The construction here lasts 20 years. Money came from Austria, Hungary, and Spain. We got it back in 2014. Looks the same as it looked before. Standing on this place, Sarajevo Brewery is a symbol of Sarajevo. First big company opened in the heart of Sarajevo in the last years of the Ottoman Empire. Brewery. And siege of Sarajevo started in 1992. Chimney meant lighthouse. My mom, she would every day get there to pick up the water, bring water back home. The biggest massacres in Sarajevo happened around the brewery. Still, they have beer. Next to the entrance, you'll find memorial for people who were killed while they were trying to get water there. We do 4 hours tour about war. We call it Fall of Yugoslavia, Siege of Sarajevo tour. 9 o'clock, 2 o'clock every day. We take you to the fortress, from where tour guide makes intro how Sarajevo ended up in the siege. We go by car to the Olympic Stadium, which was destroyed. We show you stadium cemeteries. City is full of cemeteries. We take you in a sniper alley. We go all the way to the western end of this valley where the mountain Igman is. Over there stays airport. Tunnel was built below the airport to connect Sarajevo and Igman. It was the only gate to Sarajevo. We spend 1 hour in the Tunnel of Hope Museum explaining how the city managed to live throughout this period. After visiting Tunnel of Hope Museum, we continue to Republika Srpska. Still, big part of Sarajevo is called East Sarajevo. So that would be the southwest. We cross into the different administrative part of the city, different government, and we take you to the mountain Trebević to show you positions of the army of Republika Srpska. and basically one of 14 bobsled tracks in the world is there. After that, we return back to Sarajevo every day at 9 o'clock and at 2 o'clock. Okay? Questions? We'll walk this way. Next up will be a Latin Bridge. That's the famous place for the assassination in Sarajevo. Let's go that way. Even though it's all mentioned in all history books everywhere, nothing happened on the bridge. The assassination happened where the flags, red flags, are. That's the exact corner. Okay. It was 1878. We became part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. The deal between Austrians and the Ottomans was 30 years. So after 1908, we should be a free country. Well, Austrians arrived, Habsburgs arrived here after a long time of the Ottoman Empire. It was a renaissance. My country is country of unlimited natural resources in that time and today. Same. We have a lot of gold, silver, copper, coal, steel, iron, wood. We have, I think, top 5 countries in Europe, wood per population. Imagine in that time, primal wood, Ottoman business was just trade. They were not much into the mining. So Austrians, in short period of time, they realized that their main strategic thing is to take our natural resources. In order to use it, to exploit it, they need to invest. Railroads to the north, railroads to the west, railroads to the south. Railroads in my country in 1900 are very serious projects. Someone asked me, who built your highways? Highways they are not worth at all. We have highways through the mountains. Very soon we'll get one of the longest tunnels in Europe, Sarajevo to Mostar. It's so expensive. And I don't think that much traffic we will get, in order to pay out that highway. But imagine in 1900 building with all technology these railroads through the tunnels and mountains of Bosnia. That was extremely expensive. Austrians, they invested much more than they could take out in the short period of time. But in that time, as they were very liberal, Austrians are Habsburg monarchy, is country of 30 European nations. Czechs, Polish, Hungarian, Slovakians, Slovenians, Croatians. In my country, they let nations having their cultural societies. So Slavs, in that moment, started thinking about their Slavic background. So Slavic idea appeared, but that was used especially in Serbia, which was independent country, and which saw threat from the Habsburg monarchy to promote these ideas. So radical fractions of pan-Slavic movement were in that time under direct influence of the Serbian government. They saw that way to confront with the Habsburgs. Dragutin Dimitrijević Apis is Minister of Force of Serbia, and he's main sponsor of Black Hand organization. This organization is a radical organization which is ready to act against the Habsburgs. They're ready to use everything. One attempt against the Habsburgs happened in 1910, one attempt happened in 1912, but the ideal moment was 1914. Habsburgs are coming to Sarajevo on 28th of June. That's a big Serbian holiday. They celebrate anniversary of Kosovo battle, thing which happened in 14th century. They start to stop Ottomans. They lost the battle, but the Ottoman Sultan was killed. So that day remained as a day of victory, even though it was basically lost. Same thing, Habsburgs coming to Sarajevo 6 years after occupation in Serbia was considered as provocation. And especially, they are coming to Sarajevo to open the railroad. Railroad from Sarajevo to Visegrad was most expensive European railroad in 1900. That's the railroad. Part of that railroad is on top of that street where the Mado ice cream is. That's an old railroad station, that place. So Serbia was not happy with that railroad. Austrians are going to train army on the border with Serbia on that day. Everything was a little bit provocative. Ambassador of Serbia in Vienna warned Habsburgs that it's not smart idea to visit Sarajevo on that day. They just ignored that. Plan of the visit was published in all newspapers, and everyone knows that the cars who pass through this street, meeting point of Franz Ferdinand, will be in the city hall, and after welcome ceremony, they will come back through this street. They will go in Kaiser Joseph Street. That street where the flags are, that was the main street in Sarajevo in that time. A lot of people were so happy to see Franz Ferdinand in Sarajevo. They were welcoming him with the flowers. But 7 members of Black Hand, they were there to kill him. One of the guys stood on that bridge over there, and when the car passed in front of the bridge, Nede Kochabrinovic, he threw a grenade. He failed to kill Franz Ferdinand, but he didn't fail to wound several people there. Franz Ferdinand arrived in the city hall. He was very mad. How this could happen? You welcomed me with the shot. They told him that that was a one-man show, that this could never happen again. They are going to change plan of the visit. On the way back from the city hall, they are not going to use this street anymore. That street is too narrow and too risky. They will just continue straight. They will visit some people along the way. They will visit some people in the hospitals, and they are leaving Sarajevo. But the driver was not told about change of the visit. Or he didn't speak German, which I don't think so. Czechs, as a Czech driver, they speak German at that time. Anyway, when he started moving from the city hall, and when the driver reached this intersection, where the museum sign in English, on that place stood photographer who took this one. Just a second. This photo is taken 2 seconds before shot. What you can see here, wheels of the car are turned to the right. So that's the moment when the car went there, and the next moment is just the assassination. This picture is like picture which is, I would say, when it's something opposite. But anyway, next moment is the car reached that way, so it should be the different side. But anyway, just illustration. The car came that street, and Gavrilo Princip, 19 years old member, he's coming of Black Hand, he's coming out of the flags. That was the window, and he's shooting at Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sofia. With him they found Belgium-made pistols. With him they found Kragujevac-made grenades. Kragujevac is Serbian ammunition factory. 7 members of Black Hand were arrested by the end of the day. 4 of them, they had the pistols. All of them, they had the grenades. And Austria blamed Serbia for everything. They connected it because the Belgium-made pistols are sold to government of Serbia in that time. And they wanted to investigate about shot on territory of Serbia. Serbia did not let Austrian army, police, whatever to come on their territories. And it was a tension. 1 month after the assassination started invasion of Belgrade. And that was the beginning of the First World War. Austria and Serbia, they are in war, but it was clear that this war will not finish between 2 states. Very soon Russia backed up Serbia, Germany backed up Austria, and we ended up in the greatest war in the world's history. There was no big war in Sarajevo, but this shot changed world's history. Took the world out of that balance. Yeah, 3 big empires collapsed. At the end of the First World War, there was no more Habsburgs, Ottomans, Russian Empire. And among the communism in the Balkans, we got the Slavic state. Okay? Questions? Okay.
So this is the place where the prince was shot, here at the corner, and the First World War began. Yes.
Well,
Yeah, first
that's
war.
a spot. This is a place. This plaque here, the one that's mentioned what happened here, this plaque here is a 5th different plaque on the same place in the last 100 years. Imagine that. As the countries were changing, approaches were changing, so today is neutral approach. But by the end of the First World War, we are part of Habsburg monarchy. Franz Ferdinand and Sofia are commemorated. Latin Bridge is Latin Bridge. The monument, 20 meters tall, stand for Franz Ferdinand and Sofia. There is just a picture of that. End of the First World War, Slavic Kingdom. Gavrilo Princip, who died as political prisoner, is new hero of Slavs. Bridge is named after him. Plaque celebrated his name. Monument is removed. Until World War II, when again occupation happened and Franz Ferdinand and Sofia are commemorated. Tito's Yugoslavia. Gavrilo Princip is a drive to bring Slavs together, right? Latin Bridge is Princip's bridge in that time. One local artist, he made even footsteps to celebrate place from where he was shooting. In 1992, perspective changed again. Today, very neutral plaque, which without emotions and feelings tells what happened there. This is in my country, in my city, but going a little bit to the east, Going a little bit to the west, there are very different perspectives of this event. Serbia, Gavrilo Princip is national hero. Croatia, Gavrilo Princip is terrorist. Depending where you are, even in my country, different emotions and feelings. You don't have to go far away. Republika Srpska, East Sarajevo, Statue Square, and the school is named after Gavrilo Princip. Questions?
What are these?
Footsteps were done by local artists. It was an exhibition to kind of remember a place from where he was shooting. The photos, and we can continue towards Hotel Europe. And we got Romanesque towers, Romanesque domes, which is not so common for the Orthodox Church. This is one of 25 Orthodox churches in Sarajevo. And our Orthodox Church here is Serbian Orthodox Church. That's common for the area. Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia, Serbia, and Montenegro, they have a Serbian Orthodox Church. The patriarchy is in Belgrade. Okay? We can continue towards our cathedral. So we are...
Sarajevo is also called Jerusalem of Balkans. Here you can find mosques, churches, and synagogues side by side. All three big religions live here for centuries.
On your email, those who subscribe to this code, you'll get some recommendation cards. So it will be a little bit about food, restaurants, museums. And anyway, if you miss that, you can get the paper at the end of this tour for recommendations. In Sarajevo, you should try local food. Please do that, unless you really want to eat whatever. Anyway, there are three types of restaurants here: Cevapđinica, Burekđinica, and Ašćinica. Cevapđinica, cevapi, barbecue. Burekđinica, burek, that's a pie. And Ašćinica is our cooked dishes, stews. Okay, now cevapi and burek. They're most famous dishes in the Balkans, right? And they're everywhere. But everyone will tell you that the best cevapi and burek are in Sarajevo. That's true. We have plenty of cevapđinicas, plenty of burekđinicas. And you don't eat burek anywhere else than burekđinica. You don't eat cevapi anywhere else than in cevapđinica. Okay? So when you find restaurant serving cevapi and burek, that's not the place to eat cevapi and burek, really. So cevapđinica that serves burek, that's not the place either. Burekđinica that serves cevapi or anything else, that's not the place, okay? My colleague, she's laughing, you know. Šta ima, ajde, bješ tam. She's my dear colleague. She was for 5 years in our team. Unfortunately, for us, she is not with us anymore. But good for her, that she has her own business and she's very successful and great. Yeah, we love her still. One of the best guides, especially for Spanish. To continue with cevapi and burek. So you can try. I mean, when you go to Serbia, Croatia, you don't have a chance then to eat cevapi in general restaurants. But here, as I told you, there's the rule. Another thing, cevapđinica or burekđinica that serves beer, that's not the place to eat either. Especially in Sarajevo, they're attracting tourists. You can buy cevapi at the butcher, and you will eat same cevapi in those kind of restaurants. But here you want to eat in very small restaurants, which are focused on the quality. They don't have a place to accommodate you for 3 beers to sit there for 3 hours. That's not what they want. They want you to talk about the quality of their food, whether it's cevapi or burek. Bosnians, they usually get offended when tourists just talk about cevapi and burek. Yes, they are famous, but that's not all we have. Ašćinica is a place where you can try rich Bosnian cuisine, and then you try sarmas, dolmas, sweets, and all the rest, which is not cevapi and burek. We say cevapđinica and burekđinica we eat with fork and knife. In Ašćinica we eat by spoon. So it's cooked dishes. One of them is on the recommendation card. But here, I want to point you at one place, and that's the only place I recommend. Down the street is a brick building. Next to that one is a yellow building. You see the yellow building has an ad green, the red letters over there. It's hard to see what's written from here. But anyway, it's written Cevapcinica Nune. It was 1966 when my grandfather opened first cevapi restaurant in town. And there's a place where I'm pretty sure the best cevapi are eaten in Sarajevo. Yeah? It's called N-U-N-E. Just nickname of my father. Let's go this way. But you will have it on the recommendation list. We are in front of our cathedral. That's a cathedral of Jesus Heart of Sarajevo, built in the time of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Even though there were Franciscan monasteries throughout my country, even during Ottoman Empire, the old one is on the other side of the river. This church, after Habsburgs arrived, meant unification of our Catholic community, naming our Archbishop, and finally giving structure of the church. So idea was to make Gothic towers. Plan was changed in the last moment. We got Romanesque towers. Clock is missing because it's under maintenance. And the only Gothic detail in Sarajevo we have is rosary in our cathedral. 3 times in the last 25 years, Pope was here. Not that many cities had this opportunity. It was 1997, after siege of Sarajevo, Pope John Paul II, he blessed town, he prayed for peace, and he's visited Sarajevo. In 2003, he was here again. In 2015, we were honored by visit of Pope Francis. So for that purpose, people of Sarajevo, they built statue for Pope John Paul II. That was their way to thank the Polish Pope for his 2 visits. It's not only 2 visits. This Pope is a reason that my country is one of 60 countries in the world, and Sarajevo is one of 200-something cities in the world, which has what? We have Cardinal. Small country, small city, country with 200,000 Catholics plus has a Cardinal. It's a big deal. Especially Cardinal, who was all the time in Sarajevo during siege, who was always standing for Bosnia, for unity, that's something that's beyond everything. So Cardinal is in this top list of most loved people of Sarajevo. Questions? In average, 350 shells hit the ground of Sarajevo every day. It was a rule not to stay in the place which is open from the mountains, as you could be a target. On this place fell mortar, killing 3 people of Sarajevo. One guy, Vedran Smailovic, you remember, he was playing cello. That was his way to remember the place and the loss. People of Sarajevo, they would bring red color and they would paint those places with the red color. That was their way to remember the place. Those places, they got named Sarajevo Roses. Every time you see a rose, you know there are 3 victims there. Number goes up to 67, which was on the green market, not far away from here. Hundreds of roses were around Sarajevo. The construction of roads, squares made that some of them are gone, but still 50 roses are there. There are 3 massacres around the market. You can maybe find time to visit it. 1 hit on the market, 1 hit on this main street between open and covered market, and 1 hit in front of my father's restaurant on this street. They are considered as massacres on the market because they were all closed. Okay? We are going to meeting of cultures. Just tiny narrow streets of the old town of Sarajevo. No one lived downtown. People live in the houses. This old town was closing in the evening after the 12 o'clock on the clock tower, after the sunset. People live in mahalas, which is also good maybe to explore a little bit the upper part of Sarajevo. I'm always considering this direction. But the big fire and destroyed most of the old town. Austrians started building modern European city. Wide boulevards replaced tiny and narrow streets. Apartments came to the city. Neoclassic, neo-Renaissance architecture replaced this Ottoman architecture. That's new era in the history of the country. People would say that east remind them of Istanbul, west looks like Vienna. And that's the meeting of culture spot. We're going this way, our agency is behind us. So it's not changing. It's fixed exchange rate, 19.5, almost 20. So that's one of the good decisions of the Office of High Representative. He anchored our currency to euro, and we didn't have inflation, which was quite good in this post-war times. The first time we have inflation is now. We are in the street of my neighbors. Library is there. One exhibition is recently, it's written The Mosques of Banja Luka, in the city where there was no much war, capital of Republika Srpska, 1 year after war, and 2 months range, I think 34. I'm not sure exactly about numbers. All the mosques destroyed, intention and decision of the Radovan Karadzic. It was kind of message to the Bosniak and Catholic churches, to Croats, even though there was no fights in the city. So the one that was UNESCO heritage was reconstructed finally yesterday, and that's why the exhibition is there. So after 30 plus years, the Arnaudia, the most beautiful one in our country, is reconstructed. So you can take a look maybe at this exhibition. I'm pretty sure it's interesting. I didn't have time to see it. Neighbors, these are jewelers. They do in the jeweler street. They're doing jewels like it was done in the old way, old times. In our Instagram, Meet Bosnia Tours, I created one video about the jeweler tradition, and one of jewelers is there working, and you can see how they were working it and how they are still preparing this. But I was following him several days, catching when they were working, you know, when they were doing it like in the old times, and they are still doing it. It's quite interesting. And these are these filigree jewelry. 2 here neighbors are also doing handcrafts with some modern things like some souvenirs. And the brunch here, they are most probably best place for coffee in Sarajevo. They have breast croissants, and they are completely inspired by Sarajevo and the Olympic Games. It's quite a popular place. Let's continue a little bit further. Another neighbor